And after that, we will have a networking event. Everybody has a chance to network with the panelists. And remember, both of them are hiring, so please seize the chance. So a little bit about Women in Analytics. We are a new meetup group founded in 2018. We encourage women to advance in analytics-powered careers. We also have network events to create a network of female professionals with knowledge shares and peer mentorship, as well as our ally male professionals to join as well. Yeah. So just feel free to bring your friends to our community. We are, can we go to the next page? We are not only in NYC, but also in Boston, as well as in San Francisco, which is not listed there. So if you are interested in like new job postings, job opportunities, and referrals, definitely join our LinkedIn groups just to not to miss out anything. So next one. So the sponsor of today's event is MarTechApe. It's an e-learning platform focusing in the field of marketing technology. We provide expert-led courses, and I believe a lot of you are already following us on our WeChat content and website, but for those of you who are not quite familiar with the company, this is a short video about who we are, what we do, and what kind of services or courses we provide.
We might not be able to have some. If we don't have some, we will share the link. I don't think we have some.
Okay, let's skip that. We are gonna maybe share the video with you guys through our email channel. And so basically, that video was recorded like half a year ago, and since then we've been growing very fast, and now we're having more than 1,000 premium users. And our expert-led courses cover a wide range of topics from marketing analytics, digital marketing, data analytics, data science. And we also have online workshops to help you upgrade your data analysis skills in Python, SQL, Tableau, and Excel. And last but not the least, we also have online bootcamps like Marketing Mix Modeling Bootcamp, Growth Marketing Bootcamp. We provide you with an immersive learning experience with real business and projects and cases. So if you're interested in any of the courses or trainings that we provide, definitely check out our website or follow us on WeChat. And back to today's event. We really want to thank the volunteers today who put together this event. Without them, we cannot have that many amazing events. So Claire Wu, she is a student at Columbia University. There. And we also have Yuan Yan, who is a senior data analyst working at Horizon Media. And Joy, she just joined Jet.com as a marketing analytics manager. Also have Xunqing, Rachel, and Shen, who are all working professionals in marketing and education. So now it's pretty much a time for us to start our career panel. Our moderator is Alice Yan, who is our old friend. And Alice is a digital marketer at Getting Image. She used to work in the Bay Area, and now she's back in NYC. And I know people are coming here today for these two great panelists, who is Megan James and James Risto. So I'm going to just hand over to Alice, who's going to lead this panel discussion. So with the next 45 minutes, we'll just share, just enjoy this panel. Okay, let's keep going.
Thank you both for joining us tonight. So I do want to, even though we have the screen up here to show your names, I do want you guys to introduce yourself in a very brief 3W format. So what's your name? What company did you work at? And what's your job? What's your position? Starting with Megan.
Hi everyone, it's so nice to be here tonight. My name again is Megan James. I'm the head of analytics at Conde Nast.
What is your position?
Oh, okay. So in that role, what does head of analytics mean? Basically, I oversee a centralized group of teams. We have multidisciplinaries. One of them is product analytics, so that we partner closely with the product and tech teams on building products to improve engagement and grow our audiences. I guess I should step back. So Conde Nast is a media publisher. We publish well-known brands like Vogue, Vanity Fair, W, Wire, New Yorker, of course. I think there's over 18 brands and growing. So in that, we're really focused on a variety of core disciplines. And so the way our team is structured, again, is what I oversee is a centralized team that really is embedded with individual product functions. The other one is consumer marketing. So obviously we have a direct-to-consumer business. So in those roles, we really focus on our marketing campaigns to acquire and retain our subscribers to their individual brands. Another team that I oversee is our editorial teams. So they partner closely with the actual content creators. So what are we producing? How much are we producing? Where are we distributing this type of content, and where can we optimize to improve again and grow our audiences? And finally, we have a growing business. It's an e-commerce business. Our editors have been writing about products forever, and now we're really partnering with retail brands. So we write and recommend about the latest in street style or in makeup trends. We can actually, if users want to click through to those retail brands and make a purchase, we can actually, we can benefit from that and create incremental revenue for our company. And so we're tracking and optimizing that business as well.
Thanks, Megan. You guys all know Conde Nast, right? Yes, that's very nice. All girls know Conde Nast. They love it. James.
I'm James Rizzo. I wish I could say my name is James Megan.
I know.
I work at Daily Harvest. It's a direct-to-consumer food company. You may see our ads on the subway.
We do have your users. Lulu, please show your hands. Yeah, she's a loyal fan. She told me the other day.
And the rest of you should all try it. You can use the code DHRISO, DHRISO, for 3 free cups. And I lead the analytics team. Like Megan was saying, it's a centralized group. We also work with engineering and digital product functions for the parts of our experience that are online, like our app, the website. And then we partner with the marketing team, operations team, the culinary product team, who are the folks who come up with the recipes for our food, which are smoothies, soups, harvest bowls, all sorts of food that we either have or are thinking about developing, helping those groups use our own data and data sources that we can try to access from outside the company to just make better decisions.
And I do want you to define what is DTC. So everybody here is hearing DTC every single day, but we don't really know what's the definition. So in your words, what is DTC?
So it just stands for direct to consumer, and when I say that, I mean that we have an individual relationship with our customers. We know exactly who they are, where, when we send them food, we know where that goes, and we have really rich data about how they're interacting with our service, the things they're buying, the things they're not buying, and can use that data in a really robust way to give our customers more of what they want.
That's very nice. And my second question will be, how did you get into the field? And what kind of career paths you guys have, since graduating from college or since graduating from MBA? Yeah. So we will also start with Megan.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a little girl growing up, I would get magazines and open up and immediately look at the masthead, and I was like, I want to see my name printed in a magazine. I always wanted to work at a magazine. So throughout college, I sort of found opportunities while at school, starting with we had a newspaper. I went to Cornell, any Cornell people, but tried to figure out, I knew I wasn't necessarily, my brain was more I really like the business side of creating content. I didn't want to be on the creative side. I really wanted to support and figure out how I could work in that industry. And so at first I thought I was going to go into ad sales, because that's what a lot of when I looked at the masthead, that was ad sales this, ad sales this. So I got an internship, and I quickly realized it's probably not for me. It was just a different type. So I networked. I had some family friends who also worked at Conde Nast at the time, funny enough. It was more in the consumer marketing team. And so I really kind of took the initiative to sort of find out what that was, because it's a little bit behind the scenes. It wasn't getting as much attention, I would say. And it was really a nice balance between, again, thinking about the consumer and working closely with the brands and using data to sort of drive our decisions. And that was sort of the perfect harmony for me. I really found my way and really liked that side of the business. So yeah.
Very nice. And what's your college major?
I was a policy analysis and management major. It's quite a handful.
How did you actually make that pivot?
Yeah, I also started my career as a undefined major. I didn't know what I necessarily wanted to do, so I took classes in government, in PAM, as we called it, in economics, and I really liked the classes that I took in PAM because they were really focused again on how all the different industries work together. So there's a lot about government, the kind of like corporate sector, and then the public sector as well, and just looking holistically at business in general. So that's kind of where I really liked it. Got a background a lot in research as well. I really liked thinking about user, or like not call them users, but like just people and why we do the things we do. So like studying people and their behavior was really fascinating.
Yeah. So because your major and your first job was like totally not related to each other.
Really. I would say most of the people in my major either went on to law school or went to work for the government, and well, those are great professions. So it just wasn't exactly. Again, I just wanted to work at a magazine. So yeah.
So do you have to take an internship to actually make that pivot or make that the starting point?
Yeah, I think you can find extracurricular activities that you do at your school, or take side classes that maybe aren't directly related to your maybe minor in this and get a major in this. And then also internships are really great opportunities to figure out what you like and also what you don't like. It's really hard to know until you're in that environment where you think, like for example, the ad sales internship, I realized that just wasn't the environment that I wanted to be in. So I kind of pivoted and found consumer marketing, and that there was a long time that was think of it like a triangle. There's like the edit team, the sales and marketing team, and then the consumer marketing team. So I figured that was the area I actually felt most comfortable in.
And Jen, so please tell us, like, when did you graduate from college, and when did you do your MBA? Like, how many years did you work and then go to graduate school? And then before graduate school and after graduate school, like, what's your career been like?
A lot of questions. Okay. So I was actually on the longer side of the time that people take between college and MBA. I was in college in 2009. I graduated a little early, so end of 2008, and then I finished my MBA in 2017. So got two different experiences before then. I was an econ major as an undergrad. I also double majored in philosophy, but that was like philosophy I found interesting, but I never expected to do anything with it for a job, and econ was like how I was going to pay the bills. And I think in those courses, that was where I was exposed to working with data for the first time, thinking about regression and statistical concepts, and I found that like, hey, this is something that I like doing. So I actually started my career at a think tank in DC doing economic research at a startup think tank, which is different than a startup company in many ways. But found that was like a little too slow paced. I think.
Is that because of DC or because of think tank?
I think especially in a think tank,
yeah.
In DC in general.
Yeah, as a New Yorker, of course, you find DC slow paced.
I'm from New York, so like this was I had to come back here. But that I think was an interesting kind of work to do from the standpoint of seeing how people sometimes use statistics and data to inform policy decision making. But really what I wanted to do was get closer to a place where this was actually going to be solving business problems and thinking about business. And so I actually went to economic consulting at a company called Cornerstone Research in between the think tank and when I went to business school, which is kind of where I expected to go eventually. And there, I think that was a great experience. I would really recommend if you're interested in doing like data-driven work, going into the economic consulting business, because you can get a lot of exposure into like rigorous analytical thinking, but you also can work within kind of a fast-paced team environment where there's a really high value put on getting things right and achieving things on timelines. And I think those are just good life skills and good things to know if you want to succeed in the workplace. But so I found like a lot of that work fulfilling, but ultimately it wasn't an innovative company. It wasn't kind of creating something new in a market that I could be proud of. It was doing research that would go in front of a court that some bank would lose $10 million or $100 million over. Like it didn't feel like it was changing the world. Yeah. And so I really wanted to go to business school and join a company afterwards where I would be able to use skills that I had built, but really focus them on a mission that I found more interesting and exciting, and an environment that was just more fun and more in line with my personality. So that's how I ended up.
Yeah. So you joined graduate school like 10 years after graduating from 9 or 10 years, right? 6 years after college, and you've been like spending. Will you say like that experience is not happy, or it's just not fulfilling before graduate school?
No, and I think part of the reason why it took me a while to make the decision to do a graduate degree was that I was pretty happy. Right? Like, I think ultimately I just had to commit to the idea that to, in the long term, be where I wanted to be in my career, I would have to take this step away and do that. But I think part of like the challenge is if you're really enjoying the work you do, it's that much harder to decide to go away full time.
Got it. Yeah. And how did you join Daily Harvest? This is a Series B, very fast-growing startup. So how did you actually get on board as a very important leadership member?
So I got really lucky with Daily Harvest. I was finished with business school. I knew I wanted to be in a startup and be in New York, and was just on LinkedIn looking for people who might be connected to me in some way that worked in interesting places. And I saw a woman who had both gone to my undergraduate and gone to my graduate school that I'd never known, and she was working in a startup in New York. So I reached out to her, not expecting that I would have any interest in the company actually. And through talking to her, found out that, hey, this is actually a pretty exciting company. She seemed great, and she spoke very highly of the team. And even though there wasn't a job description of that would have been something that I was interested in, or really that I think they would want me for, she decided to take my resume back and talk to people there. And it turned out that eventually they were going to look for somebody who had data skills. So we just moved the process along, and I was able to jump on actually at a point where I wasn't totally convinced that I was going to succeed. Right? I think still we could not succeed, but there's a difference between joining a Series B company with some really legitimate investors, like well-known investors, and the point that I came on, we didn't have nearly as much notoriety or backing. So for me, it felt like more of a risk, but it was the sort of thing that if you're excited about the opportunity, you should jump into that kind of situation.
How big was the team when you first joined the company?
It was around 30.
So how big is the team now?
I think we just had our 120 people.
Wow, like 4 times,
Yep.
growing 4 times. Yeah, so how do you actually evaluate the startup decision? Like, I think a lot of our members are also thinking about joining a startup or joining a great enterprise like Conde Nast. So how do you actually make your mind and join a startup? So what do you see as the upside of the startup? Yeah.
I think it's a really, really hard decision, and not just because there's a bunch of variables to consider, but at the end of the day, you could do everything right, and you could still end up at a place that in the long run is not going to succeed, and therefore that has an impact on your career prospects. So the way that I thought about it was fundamentally, is it a team that I want to work with because that's what's going to define the day-to-day experience of it? Is it a role where I feel like I'm going to grow and actually be interested in doing day-to-day? So sorry, I'll split those up. One is like, day one when you get there, are you excited about the work you're doing? Do you think you're going to have an impact? And part of the reason I wanted to join an early stage startup was, especially one where there was nobody with the kinds of skills that we have here, is that you know that you're going to get there and you're going to teach them how to do things and use data in ways that are going to actually open up new opportunities for you. So that's something that I definitely had in mind. Then the idea of like, well, you're evaluating the company essentially as an investment. Well, you're hoping to earn some kind of equity value from your time there. And so you have to take the lens of, okay, do I think this business is going to succeed? And partially because you want your equity to be worth something, but partially because that's going to dictate the future prospects you have in terms of the growth of the company. You could be a rock star, but if the company's flatlining or doing poorly, like you're just not going to have opportunities presented to you where you can take on new responsibility or really do things that you find more exciting as you progress in your career. So I think it's, and then the final piece, which I wouldn't diminish, is like, is this a company that does, for me personally, is it a company that does something that I align with, that I can get excited about, and that I can be proud of when I get in front of a group like this and talk about what I do. And to find all of those in one place and have it continue to be that case for a while, I feel very, very lucky.
Awesome. And I do want to have a quick survey with our audience. How many of you are still in school? I would say half of you guys. And how many of you are in school or graduated from school majoring in analytics-related program? That's awesome. So they are professionals. And I do want you guys to share with them, like, what kind of analytics do you do? Or like the team you oversee, what kind of analytics do they do? And what's the day-to-day
think overall, I think a lot of companies have embraced analytics in their sort of creating business strategies. So I think having a really, foundation in the technical side and the skills, and then you can sort of apply it to what sort of business, again, sort of attracts to you. Again, even in my own org, again, we have different teams that work closely with different partners. Again, like one of our business partners is the product and technology team. So they work in a very different way than our content creators. So you kind of have to figure out what sort of side or what you like analyzing. Is it consumers? Is it products? Is it a business model, like partnering closely with business development? So there's lots of different paths I think you can take your career in. I think it's just sort of figure out like what side of that business do you like. So I mean, we use a variety of tools and skills are needed. A lot of what we do is using Google Analytics as sort of our web tracking. So having a solid foundation in that. A lot of the data that we're capturing is coming from different sources. So having really strong SQL skills. Again, we're hiring for some junior positions, and that's definitely something we're looking that most candidates come on and have that skill. More familiarity with Python or R is a great plus. We don't necessarily expect that right out of college to have some basic understanding of that as well. I think also it's just in the early stages, it's more about your mindset and how you're going to go about solving problems and having that real sense of curiosity and not feeling like you're just happy with what's the current situation, trying to find the answers and trying to dig deeper and thinking and bringing those insights. It's not also just about reacting to what someone's, because a lot of times sometimes think of data and analytics is just the data pullers, okay, what happened? Tell me what happened, and you just pull the data and give a summary report. Our approach is really about being more strategic and proactive, about not just the what happened, but the why and what's next. So really going that step further, and I think that really separates the people and accelerates their career in a really great way is when you show that you understand the data, you can answer the questions of this is what happened, but the whys and where should we go from here, and really help inform your business partner on what they should be doing next, making those really insightful recommendations. So that's kind of the skill set that we're looking for.
And you're wearing multiple hats now, right? You're working with media analytics, consumer marketing analytics, and product analytics. What do you see as the biggest difference, or the specialties those people have, or any other things you want to highlight?
Yeah, I think it's finding the right fit too. It goes back to is that the environment that you wanna and you think you can excel in? The way that the products team function and do their jobs is very different than our editors and our content creators. So I think it's more about trying to make sure that we want to make sure you hit and you meet those technical skills, but are you gonna be a good brand fit or a good department fit as well? And I think it's asking the right questions. It's finding out about who you are, how you deal with certain levels of comfort level in terms of problem solving and ambiguous data sets. What are you going to do? So that's kind of the things that we're looking for as well. And it's making sure that you're passionate about what you're doing in the brand. I think when we look to hire for brand analysts, again, we're really trying to make sure it's the right brand fit. When we're looking to hire product analytics, it's more about their comfort level with dealing with things that aren't so obvious sometimes, and how you're going to go about working with different types of people too.
And Jen, so what's your day-to-day, and what kind of strategy analytics you are doing?
So one I think useful point of context is when I started, I was everybody and everything in the analytics department. So
so one person doing every job.
It's very varied, and we're still early enough where we don't have a need yet, and maybe never will, to have a really regimented division around, okay, these are the analysts who work on digital product, and these are the analysts who work on these other kinds of questions. And I think part of, at least the perspective that I'm taking now, is that you have folks who are curious, excited, and just think in a very structured, productive way about the problems that the company is really facing. Like we don't, there's no siloing in terms of, I wouldn't think about that kind of issue, or I don't know enough about marketing data to tackle that problem. Really, our team are just people who have the skills and are building more skills to use the raw inputs, that is the data that the company has or the data we can access, to help people make better decisions in their roles. And it doesn't matter, as long as that is driven towards like how do we make the company more successful, how do we grow daily harvest more efficiently and quickly, and how do we make sure that our customers are happy. Like there's no siloing in terms of like what kind of problem that would be.
Got it. And both of you guys are hiring both data analysts and data scientists, right? Or like what kind of, what's the difference? Like why there are two different jobs for two different people like that? So Jens, if you can take that first.
Sure. Yeah. So now, in terms of like what roles are on the website, that may not be true, but in general, there's definitely a division. Like we hired folks who are analysts or analytics people who the skill set is really in part what's your ability to take data and actually extract insight from it. But what matters just as much as that is like how do you take an ambiguous problem and put structure on it and help someone come to a conclusion that they, even if they had the data skills, may not have been able to come to on their own. And how do you do in terms of communicating those insights? So you could have a brilliant solution, but if it's overly complicated, or if you just aren't the type of person who enjoys sharing that with other people and working with people who don't have the same background, like that's not really a good fit. And then we have more technical roles where if your interest is more around creating infrastructure, so making sure that data flows in a way that everybody who needs to see information has access to it, and one of the consumers of that are the analytics-driven people in the company. Like, the folks who we use a tool, Looker, the BI tool, we use SQL querying, but unless the warehouse is up to date and has quality information, there's no downstream analysis you can do from that. So that to me is an entirely different skill set where even though it's in the data world, like you could be interested in that and not at all interested in doing analytics work. And then kind of in between is we are not currently hiring for, but have hired in the past like a machine learning engineer who the primary output is like how do we take data and turn it into a piece of the product using data science techniques and different algorithms that ultimately will either improve the customer experience or improve our ability to function internally with different tools. And I think what's really exciting about the world of data and analytics broadly is like no matter what your particular interests are or skill sets, like you can probably find a fit in that kind of like ecosystem.
Yeah, I would say we kind of approach it pretty similarly. Like our data analysts are really, they need to be able to like pull, extract, manipulate, make data in a more like friendly way, because usually their stakeholder is someone who's not that familiar with data. So you need to be able to take what you're finding and the insights you're uncovering, but communicate in a way that they can understand. So again, when you're talking to a video producer or someone who's, writing or producing a gallery, like, why didn't we see the click-through rate, or why didn't we see the engagement on this gallery so high? Like, what was it about it? Was it the lead image? Was that not the person? Like, you just have to kind of translate it in a way. And I think that's a really important skill. Like, it's wonderful to be solid in how you're extracting data and making it presentable, but the communication is also a really big part of this job as well, because you can only be so successful, like, if what you're doing actually makes an impact on the business, and that has to do a lot with the communication side of what you're doing. So yeah, my team really kind of works more on again, like looking at the data that we do have available and extracting insights from it. We partner closely with our business intelligence team to create and automate dashboards, so make what we're doing in a more efficient manner so that we can run and just come up with decisions and move quickly. And then the data science role is kind of, like taking what we know now, looking at history and sort of forecasting ahead, like knowing what we know, like putting different variables.
For a person who tries to advance her career in the mid to senior level. So what kind of like specialties you are looking for, like requirements you have for more senior folks to try to get promoted or try to jump to a better job. Megan.
Yeah, I think that entry level we're looking for people who can just learn the basic understanding of the tools, what do the data mean, what are the metrics, do some, the simple day-to-day reporting. And I think to really advance to that manager and senior manager level, you're thinking about like the bigger picture and what you're doing and how can we really move things forward and come up with new ideas, sort of using data as the foundation. I think it's taking a lot of your own initiative too, and not just being like, oh, can you run that report, or this is the monthly report, this is the way we've always done it, but like continue to sort of innovate and think differently, bring in outside data sources, bring in competitive information, bring your own like knowledge of what's happening in the industry, and think a little bit again more holistically and bigger picture. I would say are steps that we really look forward to, and also just find different ways to take like on a leadership role. Again, I work on a pretty big company where we have lots of brands and lots of things. So if you're able to train new people as you say you have a skill set that's really valuable to the overall board, like again maybe taking the initiative to train other people as they join our team, seeking out new opportunities, new partners are always something that we're looking to as well.
So it's interesting, the scale of the company I think does play a lot into this.
Yeah.
At Daily Harvest, I imagine a lot of similar stage or even younger stage companies, like an entry level job is actually, if there's a requirement or an expectation that you can be like really independent and you can kind of go and run with something because we just don't have the infrastructure to help training or even manage very closely in place. So I think you can be, when I hire someone who's like junior, you're an individual contributor, but you basically are managing yourself to a large extent, and I think that comes from having really strong experience at another place. And I recommend that like when someone's trying to build up their skills, like think about what your own need or preferences for like how much supervision you're going to get, because at an early stage startup, like you're not going to get it, and that may actually be an impediment to you further down the line in terms of having all the skills and the foundation that you really want to do well in a career long term. And then on the long term note, like as you develop in your career, you are eventually going to report to or at least interact mostly with people who are not, the people who value your work don't actually know anything on the technical side of it, or at least you know more than them, and so you're not going to succeed in that way because you write the most succinct code, or because in some ways like your technical are that tight. It's really about the more soft skills and how do you connect the work that you're doing and that your team is doing to a broader business. And I think that being able to do both, being good with detail and really on point on the actual work you're doing, but stay high level or get high level and think about connecting it to the things that the partners in the business really care about is a great winning strategy for this.
Yeah, because you're looking for people who have experience already. So what kind of experience, like consulting background or like agency background? What kind of experience you prefer?
So I'm biased towards consultants because I think part of what makes an analytics group what it is that you're facing new problems all the time. They haven't been solved. You actually sometimes have no background in it whatsoever, and you need to do work that's high quality and communicating out. And that's something that actually like consultants or even other professional services firms kind of do well at integrating people with. The flip side to that is that you don't get exposure to technical skills or to like the subject matter expertise that you could develop at another company, but at an operating company, let's say. So for sure, I think we've met very successful people with both backgrounds early in their career, and ultimately, you could start at a direct-to-consumer startup and really do fantastically well in an analytics or early data-driven career. It just comes down to your personality and like how are you going to better yourself. And I came from the background where like I wanted to learn how to do some basic stuff and like build skills before I knew what I wanted to apply it to. But if you have a much better sense of where you want to end up and what you need to do to get there, like by all means, just go straight to it.
And you guys both mentioned like not only the skills you have to build, and also the soft skills like communication, and also business acumen and industry knowledge. Like, so please like share with everybody like what advice or what's like high level industry insights you guys can provide for everyone. So Megan, if you have anything for media publishing.
Yeah, I would say, anyone wanting to enter the media publishing, if you don't like change, this is not the industry for you. It's changing like drastically our whole business model, the new platforms, the new brands. So it's really evolving. Obviously, the way in which users, audiences are consuming content is changing. The type of content is changing. So I think if you're just open to things that are not, if you're interested in like a very dynamic industry, I would say that's kind of the place for you. I will say working within a company that's sort of viewed as like legacy media magazine company, sometimes it's hard because we all hear it and we talk about it, but sometimes it just doesn't happen as quickly as say like a small startup where there's just not as many decision makers or stakeholders. So that can be a little frustrating. Again, I'm just being super transparent. But obviously we work with really great legacy brands. We have already built in core like really loyal audiences. So there's a lot to do, and obviously we want to grow and continue to find and attract new audiences. So there's plenty of problems to be solved, plenty of things. And I would say, yeah, just getting to know, there's definitely there's plenty of reading material about sort of the industry in general and our company and some of the things we're going through. I think staying up to date on just industry trends, like Digiday, Mike, there's just tons of, I would say, brands that just talk about the media industry. I think definitely being in New York City, the media loves to talk about the media, so, there's plenty of opportunities to get involved. I think also just reaching out, like looking within your own networks too. If you know, again, people that went to your college or friends of friends or family members, I think most people would always make time to get coffee or just to talk about the industry in general on more like one-to-one basis. I think just being open and available and coming prepared and having a list of questions about what you want to know, what you don't want to know, or like what you're interested in, I think is really a great way to sort of connect and figure out before whether you like it or not.
So, direct-to-consumer as an industry, it's kind of interesting to me because I think 15 years from now, if we're sitting here, like that term isn't going to mean much because like we're just going to be a brand, right? Like, this is how new companies are being developed, and we are a consumer packaged goods company like Kraft or Kellogg's or whatever that just happens to have come about in an era when you could have a direct relationship with your customer and you could have insight from all the data that comes from that relationship. And so to me, that I wouldn't think about that as like a category. I would only think about it as a category in the sense that, are you excited about selling this kind of product and interested in what it means to do that online? But I wouldn't say, like, I don't think anybody here should be really excited about joining a direct-to-consumer company because in the long term, like, our business models are going to have to evolve in a way that doesn't make them a big brand. That's what it is. Every one of these companies is thinking about how do they do more in terms of diversifying how they're acquiring customers, selling through multiple channels. So, like, I think that era is kind of finishing, and what I would think about is, like, are you excited about working in a consumer space with a brand? Are you excited about media? Is another maybe place that people who have a facility with data and are excited about this kind of problems can work in. And then obviously like big tech, which is not as present here, but in the Bay Area, things like that.
Yeah, they're occupying like Chelsea everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. There are offices here, and they have the biggest data sets and some of the most exciting stuff to work on from that regard. So I think if for whatever reason you're really excited about direct-to-consumer as a category, the advice that I would give you is to find the particular company that you actually think you believe in the mission, you're excited about the product, because at the end of the day, like, that's what's going to carry it forward. It's not. That is really what drives it.
Do you think it's fair, like the bigger category for you guys will be e-commerce?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like general advice for e-commerce, for the people who are interested in a career in e-commerce, if you have like any thoughts on that?
I mean, as Megan said, like tons of resources about the general concepts around conversion, all like the classic e-commerce concepts. For me, I wasn't like particularly interested in jumping into an e-commerce company or a food company or direct-to-consumer company. So I would say just keep your eyes open for roles that you find interesting, companies that sound exciting, and just try to find a job where you really think that you're going to get energized and excited about the work that you do. Because I think you could fall in love with the idea of e-commerce and it could be totally unsatisfactory or unfulfilling depending on all the other details.
I would say, especially when you go for those interviews, like you're, as much as they're interviewing you, you're also interviewing them. Like ask them really questions about the company's value, like how do they make a decision, you know, things like that, so you can get an idea of how they work and is that the fit in the environment that you feel like you'll be the most successful in and thrive in. So yeah. And if you like, and you know, if you're like the product and you use the product yourself, obviously you can really relate because you are that customer too. So that's helpful.
And for you guys, what benefited you the most for your entire career so far? Yeah, something like mentorship or graduate school,
definitely
anything.
mentorship. I've actually bounced around. I started at Hearst, then I was at Timing, now I'm at Conde, and like there was kind of one string through all of that. I think developing and not being afraid to reach out to people within your own department or other departments, and sort of like again, I don't think anyone would say no to having an informal mentorship with you. I think because then, like I said, when I moved from Hearst to Timing, it was actually a former colleague who had moved and she was growing her own team, and she was like, "Hey, I'd love for you to come join my team." And we had just partnered and really worked well together. So, of course, I made that move over because I knew I had a trusted colleague and friend there as well. So I think whether there's, if the company does a more formal mentorship program, I think it's a great opportunity. I've been a mentee and now a mentor, and so they usually try and pair you up with people that are maybe in a little slightly different part of the company, so you get just a different experience and a different kind of feel for the overall business. I think following up and staying in touch with people that you have connected with is really important and great as well. I think you never know when you're looking for the new opportunity or when someone else is looking to hire as well. So if you're staying in touch on the things you're working on, the projects you're working on, so that way you immediately come to mind when there's a potential opportunity. Sometimes I will say in media, in order to sort of take your career to the next level or find that next step, it does sometimes require you to switch companies or switch jobs. So I think that's really important skill to have.
Back when you are in a mentee position, so how do you actually manage that relationship? How do you keep following up? How do you keep not being too annoying, but also active, engaging with your mentor?
Yeah, I think when I was assigned a mentor, obviously we had the first session was sort of arranged, everyone meets this week and blah blah blah, and I asked, hey, do you think it'd be okay if I just put on the calendar now a quarterly lunch? So it was already on the calendar, so we couldn't forget about it. It was there. We all knew. Sometimes it had to be moved a couple days as that day got closer. But that way we just had that recurring time that we knew we'd be able to get together. And I think that does really help too. If it's once a month, once a quarter, whatever you feel is the right cadence, I think is helpful. Yeah.
So Megan's mentorship, so what's yours?
That was a good answer. I would say mentorship and relationships, but to offer something different, I think we often don't think big enough, right? We don't, in some ways, we don't give ourselves enough credit. We don't think optimistically about, or at least I personally wouldn't think optimistically about my own ability to contribute to something or what a company can do that you're working in. So I think I would really encourage everyone to really be aggressive in your goals, right? You can do more than you probably give yourself credit for. And one of the ways that translates is you can make the team that you work with, the company that you work for, more successful than you even think they can be. as that energy carries through. And it's, that's the sort of thing where, like, if you're not going after those opportunities, if you're not really believing that you can do that, you're doing yourself a disservice. So mentorship first, and then this idea that, like, you can kick ass and just go ahead and do it.
Yeah. So you don't really need anyone's permission, you just take the initiative and do it. That's very nice. And what skills have you guys found essential for your career, for your entire career? Like anyone want to take it first? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the beginning, you're just trying to prove yourself. So I think just focus, like, work really hard, like, get to know what you're doing. No question is a dumb question. I think ask really important questions in the beginning. Really focus. I always like to kind of create goals for myself. I think looking at them maybe quarterly, then yearly goals, and really, checking in with yourself and your manager too. Asking for feedback. I think sometimes not all companies do that in a more formalized way, but if there's something you're not doing right or you need to work on, like, if you don't know, how can you actually improve? So I think, again, looking at yourself, asking for that type of feedback, and without knowing where you want to go, then you can't really, like, get there unless you sort of think a little bit, like, short term and long term. Again, I would say networking too, like, make friends that are kind of at your level, but then maybe a level above you, and then all the way to your EVP or SVP too. They were, I think, when you first start, you forget, like, oh my God, they're so intimidating. They, like, they're running the department or whatever. But we all started at the same level. We have memories of being at a first-time job or first-time company. So I think they'd be happy to talk and share their experiences too. And so it's a bit of, like, making sure that you've got the hard skills right to complete your job and feel like you're doing what's asked of you, and then working on those soft skills too. That's all about networking and communication.
I think you mentioned it, but to just focus in on one of those, I think it's asking good questions. But I think it comes up in, like, a bunch of different ways. So, early in your career, you struggle with problems. Throughout your career, but let's say you're just starting a job where you're doing heads down work and you're trying to figure something out. You have a million questions, and you can go to your manager and ask that question, or you realize, like, I think about it a little bit more, and I don't need to ask that question. Or I realize that there's some other question that could solve a whole bunch of this, and that's the question that I should ask, right? And it's about making that relationship more effective, a little bit more mature in that way. But then, as you go, like, you can think about asking questions to find out, what does my manager, or what does this partner that I'm working with at another group, like, really care about? Like, that's not always obvious, and people ask you for something specific, or they seem to prioritize something, but really what they value or what their priorities are could be totally different unless you're asking good questions. You're not going to come to that. And then I think, just in terms of, like, framing your own thing, like, if you're interested in a career where you're going to be trusted as an advisor and look to you as someone who will have credibility because they are able to analyze complicated problems, like, part of that is just even just asking what is, breaking down a problem to, like, what are the specific little questions that we need to answer, and then figuring out a plan to actually go ahead and do them. So I think being curious is one thing, but also just being really thoughtful about all those different types of questions is a skill that really benefits me.
Awesome. And my last question is, do you guys actually have a career plan, like, for the next 10 years? And what's your plan change? How did your plan change since graduating from college? So your career plan back then and your career plan, like, at this moment right now. Yeah.
It's a good one and a tough one, I guess. I guess looking back, I wanted to work at a media company. I wanted to work at a magazine. Obviously, the industry's changed a lot from when I first started. Like, in consumer marketing, which is sort of where I started, we were barely doing any digital marketing. Like, email was, like, a big thing, and now we see everything we do is all based in the data, and we get almost tons of data about who our users are, what they're doing. And so I think you have to just, it's hard to know necessarily. I like working on brands and for products that really put the consumer first. And I think I just want to stay in that field. I really do like studying, again, users, why they're doing it, and how we can create the best product and the best user experience for them. So, I don't know, I guess it's hard to say where we'll be in 10 years, but hopefully still here.
I don't have a specific plan now. I don't think I really had a good plan when I started, or much of a plan. But one thing I'll say is that, like, as I gain experience and I get exposed to people who I thought had it all figured out, and I thought, like, on an entirely other level, you realize that, like, for the most part, nobody really knows what the hell they're doing. And so, in that regard, like, I think you just keep your options open for, okay, like, right now I don't know, but I think I could end up starting. I could end up doing a whole bunch of stuff just because you're just as qualified, you're just as capable as the people who end up doing that thing. So, ideally, maybe someday I'll start a company, but until then.
Yeah. So when you are back in college, you don't have management plan either, right?
No.
Yeah. So
I kind of like put one foot in front of the other. So I knew I liked working with data. So like, what's the way that I do that? And then
that's very great. And we will be taking questions from you guys. If you have any questions, just raise your hand, and yeah, we should be having at least 15 minutes for Q&A. Any questions? Don't be shy. Okay, sure. Can you raise your voice a little bit?
I can repeat it.
Yeah, sure.
The question was, do either of us program ourselves, or are we just interacting with the outlets? So I would say I program, I guess. I write SQL queries. I write R and Python scripts. But I think if it were to come down to like creating something that was production quality, like it's not me. I can just use those as tools to come out with some insight.
So you're managing someone like more of an expert than you.
For sure, there are people at various points in my career who I've managed who have more skills technically than I do.
Yeah. So how do you actually manage more like such an expert, like more expert than you, like someone like that?
I think at that point it's about having that really honest and transparent relationship where they're going to know that you're not as good at them at this particular thing anyway, right? Like you try to give them feedback, they'll probably look at you and say that you're going to be fine. So that's not the value in that relationship that you're there to provide. I think it's one, just helping them maintain and figure out like their own work priorities and process, and then helping them kind of see into where is that output going, like why does this matter, and kind of like building a more holistic view.
Yeah, I would say I'm in a similar position as well. I manage a large team now, so I'm less in the weeds with actually, extracting, creating, and like pulling the data from our data warehouses. But I sit down with them and I partner closely with them in terms of, okay, like for example, we're doing we're launching a new like web application platform, and so how are we going to determine success? We have our legacy product and then this new product, and so I'm partnering closely with them and saying these are the metrics that we're going to determine, like how are we going to roll this brand out, like what's engagement look like, and so we're determining that, and I'm partnering closely with them in terms of this is how we should do the data, but then they're the ones who actually go into our warehouses and actually pulls it and puts it into a dashboard. So, but yeah, I think like James said, I'm very honest with them that I just don't have all the technical capabilities that they actually do. Just because when I started my career, like SQL wasn't even really a thing that was required on like most jobs. So it's just a skill that I think over time has become very useful and a requirement too. So obviously, like I've taken SQL classes and this or that, but that's not part of my day-to-day job. Now that I'm more managing and heading up a department, I'm thinking about it's just a different level of expertise too.
And the second question, yes.
So we know that there are a lot of different data out there. We use a lot of quantitative techniques such as a way to analyze that. But what about qualitative? Without how does might be like non-structured and qualitative data, so how to improve that.
For experience with qualitative data, qualitative analytics.
And there's a whole side and industry as well for that. We have a big custom research team that we partner really closely on. For example, last year Wired launched a metered paywall, and so we can track and analyze the behavior that they're telling us through Google Analytics, but we can't always get to that. We can make directional and insights about oh, we think it's this type of content because this was the last article they read before they subscribed, but we don't know for sure that's why they subscribe. So then custom research really comes into play when we can send a survey out to our consumers and really pinpoint and get some feedback directly from them. What are the reasons you subscribe? Is it the price point? Is it the content? Is it all of this? So I think combining multiple data sets just really helps answer a lot of these questions holistically. So I think it's a really, really important part of what we do, and without those type of that data set, I think we wouldn't really know for sure be able to answer all the questions we want to.
This might be a little tangential to your question, but the way I think about qualitative is that often the output of a quantitative exercise is still going to be a qualitative thing, right? You're trying to explain the behavior that you're seeing in the data, or you're trying to suggest next steps that are not it's not a number that you're doing, it's some kind of more behavioral or broader understanding of what's going on. So to me, those connect, and we don't do a ton yet of custom research. We're building up the capacities there, but in my eyes, they really speak to each other. Where you can think about what are the questions you want to ask people, or the ways that you want to gather qualitative data based on the quantitative, and then vice versa. The qualitative can just put the lens on what you would see from kind of more straightforward statistical.
Yes.
Will share with us an example of an project that you guys worked on that you were really excited about, or you thought that was very impactful?
Analytics project you guys are excited about?
I can talk about one that one of my teammates who's here is working on now. Actually, there's two here, and I'm going to play favorites because I picked just
raise
one.
your hand? Yeah.
These are daily harvest. So if you want to know what it's like at daily harvest, you can ask them. So we've done a bunch of experiments where we take a set of customers who are in a certain condition, and then we randomly treat some with some treatment and have a control group where we don't do it. And so for one of the projects that's on currently is how do we get deeper into using SMS messages for our customers? So we can set up a whole experiment where we're texting customers different types of messaging and comparing them to the outcomes for customers who get different messaging, and analyze how are they reacting so far and how do we expect them to react in the future, actually creating forecasts. And those end up being actually some of the more impactful things that our team has worked on, because they affect essentially every customer at some point or another, and they're the kind of thing that people change their behavior based on. And that's an example of a place where if you don't tie yourself to true scientific methods, if you're not thinking about what makes a good randomized controlled experiment, and how can I potentially misinterpret things that I'm seeing, how can I introduce biases into an experiment like that, you might as well have not done it. And I think what really is exciting to me about not just Daily Harvest, but a whole bunch of even big companies these days, is that more and more the accessibility of this data is leading us to be able to use techniques like that to make truly informed, data-driven decisions. And the classic one is okay, let me A/B test this website versus another, but there's a tremendous amount of opportunity if you have the ability to randomize and different experiences to offer that. You can then use that kind of cool, rigorous approach to say something that is, you almost know for a fact it's true, at least at that point in time. This is better than that.
So just to summarize, should we actually tax our consumer or not? What's your finding?
There's no blanket answer.
Okay. So
depends on the situation.
As long as it's not too spammy.
Right, exactly.
And maybe.
Yeah, so one of the teams I also oversee is an editorial content insights team. So we're really tasked with the is really starting to take off. So we kind of presented a role analysis back to the editors of Conde Nast Traveler and said, women who travel is a topic and a theme that's really growing and rising in popularity. They started to explore. They did actually a pre-feature and wrote some content on the site, but they found that it was a really community activity. People wanted to talk and engage with each other. So we launched a Facebook group, and it's been tremendously successful. I think it's the #1 Facebook group for media publishers. I think last I checked, it's probably up to 130,000 members, and they are very active. I will tell you that. A lot of the other groups that we've joined, initially it takes a lot of moderating that we really have to pose and add questions. But this group is all we have to do is sit back and relax and sort of use what they're telling us, and we're taking that data and the findings and actually sending that back to the editors, hey, everyone's talking about this or that, and showing the insights, and so they can create original content that really feeds that. Also, the whole concept has really grown into a business of its own. Now we're launching Women Who Travel actual trips, so people can sign up and pay, and go together and travel the world. They went to, I think, Colombia last month, and so I think it's just using data and insights and maybe to really kind of shape the business and the editorial experience, and again, we're really giving our users what they want. So that was a really exciting project that I worked on.
Any other questions? Yes.
So, can you share a typical decision-making process based on your identified
Yeah, again, it definitely varies for me by who our business partner is. We have some teams, who are will not make a decision without looking at the data. What do we do? What do we do? Tell us. And other groups that it's a little more oh, it's nice to know. So I think, it's just people's comfort level with data. And I think that ranges from if you're working with editors who just, they're in, the way they were the original influencer, and what they feel and they like is what they should be writing about. And then, now working closely with our product teams, they're very, very data driven, and they won't make anything until we've A/B tested it and we have the data to really tell us which direction to go in. This research unit is one, so we're going to roll that across all of our brands. So again, it's not a great answer, but I guess it really does vary by who the business stakeholder is.
I think that's a good perspective. Who it is matters. I think also the gravity of the decision, or is it the sort of thing that you just needed to know, is it nice to have and you're just going to go with whatever the data seems to suggest is better, or is it a critical decision for the entire business where getting it wrong is going to have real impacts? And I really like the framework Jeff Bezos or somebody that says most decisions we make are actually not irreversible. And so if it's a reversible decision, even if it's a big decision, maybe you don't need to spend that much time on it, because if it goes wrong, you just do that. So having that context around all the other pieces of it is important. And then also is the quality of the data. We haven't talked about that much, but sometimes you can trust data more than other pieces, or the data doesn't actually cover the question that you really care about, and that's where this qualitative view of you need some pretty compelling data to convince someone of something they don't believe that they also don't think we have good data on. And that I think is knowing all that as you go into a setting where you're trying to use data to make a decision helps you sculpt what's the right way to approach this. I'm not going to go create 15 slides to motivate a decision that the person probably wanted to make anyway, and the data has at first blush supported. And then there's one where okay, if we're going to bet the business on this, we better think it through.
Any other questions? We'll take the last one. Yes.
is there ever do you ever learn all the about your business, or
So when the insights you extract from data doesn't really work, doesn't
or is it is immoral to use?
Yeah.
immoral to use,
Yeah.
like Cambridge Analytica. Or yeah.
So
Well, yeah. So our business, we do have a direct-to-consumer business as well. Like we market and get users to subscribe to our magazines or different digital products, and then we have a digitally advertising supported business, and all of that is really anonymized data. So I wish sometimes they talk to each other more. They don't always, but I guess it just. I think it goes into like how are you implementing when you're bringing on new tools or different I guess companies that's going to be collecting data on your users, like making sure that the implementation is really solid and correct and legal. I guess like we recently actually migrated from Adobe Omniture to Google Analytics, and we spent a really long time making sure that everything we were doing kept our users and their privacy also into account as well. So thankfully, I guess I haven't had to encounter that problem. I don't know if you
So it's an interesting question. Definitely not in the way where faced the situation where this actually came up. But I think it's interesting to consider. I worked at a big ride-sharing company, and you think about the kind of data that they have about you, right? Or any digital service that you use. They know what your behavior patterns are, and in theory, you could use that data to change prices on a customer, to provide a lower quality experience if you think that they actually don't value it. All these sorts of things that was something that I considered when I was working there. It wasn't like I was working on projects like that. Nobody's saying let's do that. But as people who think about how you can use data in the business and how it could be misused, that was maybe the only situation, the only setting where I was like, wow, actually you could probably use data in a way that the customer wouldn't appreciate that you're using it. As opposed to typically the way we're using data is how do we encourage someone to do something that they really want to do anyway, or if we don't, it's okay, you're reducing friction, let's say. But I think it's an interesting question because more and more there's probably going to be companies that kind of situation is possible, and we're going to, as people who are on the front lines of using data in a business, grapple with that kind of moral question.
Just to add on that, the GDPR and the CCPA, the California Consumer Privacy Act, and the GDPR General Data Protection Rule, this is already being effective for a year. So do anything change in your work or your organization? Just to add on that as a question. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We had to look at all of our newsletter lists and really scrub them and make sure we were actually following the rules and the guidance that they were giving them. And going forward, any personal information we collect, we're looking at it and making sure that we're following the guidelines there. And storing in a way that, again, prevents that sort of misuse of data and giving away private information illegally.
I think for a startup, you start out and you're not following any rules because you're just trying to make it work. And then as you're progressing, you're trying to take much more seriously these things that, as you get to scale, are going to matter. And so our growth path is kind of lined up with some of these regulations that have come out, or at least forward thinking around what are the right data policies. So it's going to fit nicely where naturally we just started getting to a point where we cared about it and have the resources to do something about it. And now the rest of the market, the rest of the world really is focusing on these issues too. So we were in the right place at the right time.
So this concludes our panel. Thank you so much for both joining us. And yes, so now we have about half an hour so people can just stay here and networking with each other, building a relationship, making friends. And thank you so much for joining us. And if you guys have questions, definitely take it offline, chat with them directly. Thank you.